The best advice I can give to anyone who is trying to start a brand is to actually spend proper money on the branding from day one, because brand is just so important, and that money gets paid back to you 10 times over. It's been so fulfilling for me to be able to take something from ideation through to the shelf and have a part to play in every different component.
But I asked you earlier that, Simon, you're always away. Like, what's that about? And what did you say to me? You go away when?
On the school holidays. But yeah, I go away regularly because it's the moments where I can be most present with my family. One of my favorite Stoic quotes, and I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy, but one of my favorite Stoic quotes is from Seneca that says, "No wind is favorable if you don't know to which port you're sailing." I'm very, very clear on what port I'm sailing to, and I might not make it there, but at least I know why I'm going where I'm going.
Simon, welcome, Successful.
Thanks,
Absolute pleasure having you here today. Simon, I've known you over 10 years, and I always say to guests that I only really want to bring people on to this podcast that personally inspire me in some way. And I've followed your journey for, I think, over 12, 13 years, really from when, you started building your personal brand, you're on all the covers of magazines, on the speaking circuit. But I see a very different Simon today. You're now a family man, 3 kids, co-founder of amazing practice, amazing healthcare brand, toothpaste brand, is that right? Mm-hmm. So I just want to delve into who Simon is, how he thinks. And obviously, I know a bit about you. I know how disciplined you are. You've achieved some amazing things. So I want to learn from you how you become that man and juggle everything.
Yeah, sure. A bit more about me. I'm obviously, my name's Simon Chard. I'm a cosmetic and implant dentist, I guess, from a clinical point of view. I'm the co-owner of Rothy Lodge Dental Practice, which I co-own with my wife, Dr. Memon Chard, which is a 7-surgery multidisciplinary practice down in Surrey. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of PÄRLA Oral Care, which is a ethical, sustainably focused wellness brand in the oral care space, which is listed in Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Boots, Ocado. We've got thousands of subscribers, tens of thousands of customers online, direct to consumer, and also selling through dental practices. I'm the previous president of the BACD, the British Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, which has played a huge role in my career over many, many years since I was a student. And I'm also a KOL and lecturer in the sort of digital dentistry space, currently for Sprint Ray, and a few other brands. And occasionally I'll go on TV or whatever, Sky News, Channel 5 News, and give point of view from the dental profession side. So that, I guess, is my bio in a nutshell.
We could do this as a 5-part series because I don't really even know where to begin. There's so many amazing segments and offshoots that we could go through. But let's start with the Dragon's Den experience. Mm-hmm. You were on Dragon's Den with Rona Iskander, mm-hmm. and we all tuned in, being in the dental profession. What was? Tell us about it from start to finish. What was the intention?
Well, they actually reached out to us. So I'll always remember it was 2020, around the summertime. I was doing a virtual consult with a patient, which obviously was very apt for that time in life, immediately post-COVID. PÄRLA had been trading just for around 3 months at that stage. We'd just been featured on This Morning on ITV in their plastic-free edit in sort of July time. And anyway, I was doing this virtual consultation with a patient, and I see this email pop up on the right hand side of my Mac laptop, and it says like Dragon's Den or something, and I was like, oh, I assume that's just spam. Like that. Anyway, we finished the consult, and then picked up the email, and it's a researcher from BBC basically saying, we think you'd be great for Dragon's Den. Do you want to come on? And then from there, it's a very, very drawn out process, and all the way along the line, I think it was about 4 months or so, maybe a bit less than that, it was September. We filmed the end of September. You're going through all this due diligence, and they every step they say, this does not guarantee you're going to be on the show, doesn't guarantee. Even after you filmed it, they say, really, you're not necessarily going to make it onto the show. So yeah, anyway, Rona and I went up to Manchester end of September 2020. Again, by that point, we'd only been trading for 6 months or so.
Did you want investment?
I didn't know what I wanted at that stage, mate. I barely knew what investment was.
Okay.
But thankfully, we had some really good people. I mean, Dan Murray-Serter, who's the founder of Heights, who have done incredibly well. He is a friend of the brand, and he gave us some really sound advice. He put us in contact with Nick Jenkins, who was the founder of moonpig.com. He was an ex-Dragon, and Nick was incredibly generous with his time, as was Dan. And Nick actually did a mock interview for us in his house in London.
Really?
Which was really kind of him. And I think that gave us some really sound advice as to where to position ourselves, the confidence that we should have in the brand. He was like, they're going to bully you, they're going to push you around, don't let them do it. You've got a good brand, good proposition, good value. So anyway, we went in asking for 70 grand for 9%, I think it was. And we were in there for about 2.5 hours. No edits, no cuts.
They were speaking to you for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you pitch, you get, as of anyone who's watched Dragon's Den, you give your opening pitch, which is about 2 minutes 30, I think it was. Obviously, no script or anything. So you got to, oh God, the number of times Rona and I revised this thing. So we had to deliver that pitch, which was me and Rowan's going back and forth. And then they basically they try the product, and then they grill you for, as I say, from a very variable amount of time. If they're not interested, then you'll be out in no time.
Oh.
But they're putting their real money on the line. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So although you only see 10, 15 minutes on BBC, the actual interview is significantly longer than that.
Depending on if they're interested or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, yeah.
So yeah, 2.5 hours,
Wow.
constant grilling, some really tough questions. And the whole thing's being filmed. It was also 30 degrees that day, and I was wearing quite a thick double-breasted suit. So I'm just sweating profusely under these huge lumps. And when I came off the set, the researcher who had booked us, she was like, "Oh my God, you were sweating so much out there. They actually did a zoom-in crash on a sweat bead down your neck."
Oh my God.
I was like, "Cheers, the family you really want to hear coming up." But anyway, anyone that hasn't seen it, anyone that has seen it will know that Deborah and Tej gave us offers, and they were the two dragons we were after. I mean, Tej obviously no longer in it, but Vitabiotics founder, who clearly, given at that stage we only sold toothpaste tablets, could have helped us with manufacturing no end. And then Deborah Meaden, very sustainability focused, and she said some lovely words about us. And they both put in offers 15% each they wanted 30% for 70 grand, which for us was just too steep.
Yeah.
So we negotiated back, but we couldn't get to a position where everyone was comfortable. We'd only done about, I think, 50 grand's worth of sales at that point. So
yeah,
I could understand why we were quite a punt for them.
Yeah.
But we had confidence in our own brand, and to be fair to us, we've gone on and got onto the best supermarket and pharmacy shelves in the country on our own. So
I remember when you leave the room, they gave you a really good compliment, both you and Rona. Do you remember it? What was it?
So basically, Tucker was not a fan of ours at all. And the reality is, sorry, Tucker, if you're watching this, but he had his own oral care brand with another dentist who I won't name, an older dentist, very experienced, pretty well known. And Tucker basically said, "I can make this brand for 1,000 quid, and you've got nothing here," in essence. And surprisingly, Tucker's still not managed to get any products off the ground. So I don't know what he's been up to, given that this was 5 or 6 years ago now. So Tucker had a conflict of interest, in essence. So he was really gunning for us.
Okay.
Because obviously he had his own oral care brand. So he had no interest in it.
I had no idea about this.
It never made it onto the BBC. But not very much of it anyway. So anyway, at the end, Tucker said to Tej and Deborah, when you walk off and they talk about you after you've left, he said to them, I think this was on BBC, like, "Oh, you guys have dodged a bullet there," or something. And then Deborah was like, "No, actually, I don't think we have." They had like a really good brand, really good product, and they were like the perfect individuals to take this product to market. And there were loads of other things that Deborah said. Like, Deborah was actually using a toothpaste tablet already. She said on the edit that she was already using a tablet, but this was so much better, and it tasted so much better, and it looked so much better. And that was our whole focus, right? Toothpaste tablets already existed in the market, but we wanted to really hit that sweet spot between green ethically minded brands that don't know anything about dentistry. They throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of ingredients. Their branding is very much like brown paper bag, hippie eco vibes. And then you've obviously got the mass market toothpaste that are only driven by profits. They sell really cheap rubbish ingredients in single use or plastic packaging that lasts forever on the planet, turning into microplastics. You've got those two sides of the coin, and you've got nothing in the middle that's actually ethically minded, but also science backed and cares about people on the planet in the way that they do business. And so that's where we felt we could actually offer something unique and novel into the industry that didn't exist and arguably still doesn't exist outside of what we're doing. Certainly, if you look on the shelves of Sainsbury's or Waitrose or Boots, there's very few brands that have the scientific credibility that we have alongside 100% plastic-free packaging, which I don't think anyone else can say. And also a brand that I'm obviously going to be biased, but looks pretty cool and is something that you'd be proud to have on your bathroom shelf.
So people listening in or watching in, they're probably thinking, yeah, look, brand, toothpaste, looks good. It's on the shelves, it's in these supermarkets. But I know it from when you said, Shaz, well, I'm going to call it PÄRLA, and this is what I'm going to do. And this is going to be the strategy. I remember that conversation very, very early on. You didn't even have a website at that point. This was all concepts. You even sent me the logo.
Probably, yeah.
2019, yeah, around that time when I started Wells on Wheels. So I've seen that little glimpse of that to me being in my local supermarket, walking through the toothpaste aisle. And there's loads of people I know in my network outside of dentistry. They're always trying to get their products into the supermarkets, etc. You can't just go and get your product into, there has to be something there. And it stood the test of time. I was so proud in that moment where I saw the PÄRLA products there, and they look the part. And I think that was driven by you because you really understand good design from bad design, the brands that you even probably interact with yourself. So I think that's the look with the sustainability, with the actual product, and your drive with Rona and the PR, etc., is really a blueprint to anyone looking to start up their own brand, right? It's, you've been there, and am I right in saying you don't have that kind of business experience from before? You've just learned as you've been going along.
Oh my God, I've learned so much in this journey. I mean, the different situations I've got myself into as a result of PÄRLA. I mean, careful what you wish for if you are going to start a consumer brand, because it's been a wild, wild ride. Very, very high highs and very, very low lows along the way. And yeah, it's been a real experience. But no, I mean, obviously I had no experience of bringing a consumer brand to market before. I've always been that way inclined. Obviously in terms of my personal brand, but what people probably haven't seen is the various other sort of dabblings I've had in setting up my own brands. I mean, my brother and I, probably about 2015, maybe even earlier than that, tried to get a protein fruit smoothie brand off the ground called Blends with Benefits.
Okay.
Because I'd seen back in, actually it might have been earlier than that, in 2012, I did a road trip across California and I saw all these protein juices everywhere. And I was like, that's a good idea. You get protein on the go, it's healthy, etc. So we tried to bring that back into the UK. That thankfully didn't get any further than a few bottles of questionably flavored juice in our fridge and some branding, some logos. But yeah, so I've always been that way in mind. But no, I've never got anything up to the scale that PÄRLA is. And thankfully, we've had some great people around us who have given us really sage advice from an early stage. I mean, thank you for putting the branding onto me, but we worked with some really top branding guys and spent a lot of money back in the early days to create a brand that had three-dimensionality and depth to it. It's not just a logo, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously nowadays you can go on AI and say, give me a full brand design, but we spent about 30 grand back in 2019 on creating the packaging, creating the brand.
And that's your own money, right?
Yeah. With nothing at that stage. So you're front loading a lot. And we bootstrapped the brand until today, really, with only a little bit of crowdfunding last year. But yeah, so that was really instrumental, I think, and that's something that stood the test of time. And I guess it's probably the best advice I can give to anyone who is trying to start a brand is to actually spend proper money on the branding from day one. Because brand is just so, certainly for the sort of brands that I like, is so important.
Yeah.
And that money gets paid back to you 10 times over, because it did really help with when professionals like retail buyers look at your product.
Yes.
It needs to look the part, and it
Yeah.
needs to be different enough but fit into categories. And honestly, there's so much that goes into this stuff. I live a double-sided life now, where I'm obviously very well entrenched in the dental industry, but I'm also very well entrenched in what we call the FMCG industry, or the consumer goods industry as well. I've been on podcasts there and done lectures there as well. And there's so much that goes into that. I mean, the nuance and the detail, it's obviously a whole industry on its own. So a huge amount of learning to be had over the last 6 years. Still plenty of learning to be done. I've done a mini MBA with one of the top guys in that industry that I actually won as a sort of prize, which is quite nice. So that was really helpful for me just year or two ago, just crystallizing my thoughts around what the brand represents. But I love that stuff, honestly. I mean, it's been so fulfilling for me to be able to take something from ideation through to the shelf,
Yeah.
and have a part to play in every different component of that. And we continue to develop, and you've probably seen with our more recent toothpaste tubes, which again are still 100% plastic free, infinitely recyclable aluminium, but aesthetically they look like an Aesop hand
They look
cream
so
or
good.
matte,
Yeah.
the color block, like very different to anything else on the shelves. And I love that stuff. I find that I get so much joy out of it.
So Simon, coming to you as the individual, now when I think of you, I think of someone super ambitious, and there's lots of ambitious people around us, but you also execute. If I'm watching your stories, you're up at, ungodly hours in the gym. You spend a lot of time with family, you're traveling, you're building the practice. Like, what impact does wanting to be so ambitious have to actually going to execute? Because you're part of so many committees, you speak as well. How are you balancing, like, how do you do all of that and still, like, avoid burnout?
Yeah, I mean, execution is something that I take great pride in, because so many people have great ideas, but no
Yeah,
one executes.
exactly.
So it's really interesting that you use that language. But I would say that everything I do, I love as a general rule. So I think that protects me against burnout to a certain extent, because stress isn't something to be afraid of. But there are certain components of stress that you need to be in control of to protect yourself from burnout, if that makes sense. So there's a really interesting study they did on military leaders, for example, who you would assume would have all the signs of burnout, given that they are in command of hundreds of men. They're in very stressful circumstances, but actually they show an incredibly low level of burnout because they have autonomy over their decisions. They feel as though they have a purpose and a mission in life. They're a part of a community with multiple relationships with people that they engage with. So I'm very considered, and obviously through one thing I didn't mention at the beginning is that I also run a retreat for dentists called the Dental Growth Retreat, which is a personal and professional development retreat designed to talk about a lot of these things.
Okay.
But I've done a lot of research, and I am a perpetual learner in terms of personal and professional development, which I think has helped me to build a life that allows me to execute at the level that I do. So as you mentioned, my daily exercise routine, anyone that follows me on Instagram will see that every morning. And the reason that I take a photo of that is not just because I'm a very vain individual, as some people may think, but is more so as an accountability thing, and to offer inspiration to others to do the same, because it's been so powerful for me, both in terms of my physical and mental health, to work out every day. I absolutely love it. I never wake up grudging it. It's something that I genuinely look forward to when I go to bed at night, which is a really weird thing to say, because when I was 18, 19, I barely did any exercise at all.
Yeah.
So I think building a structure around my life and knowing very clearly why I'm doing what I'm doing. One of my favorite Stoic quotes, and I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy, but one of my favorite Stoic quotes is from Seneca, that says no wind is favorable if you don't know to which port you're sailing. I'm very, very clear on what port I'm sailing to, and I might not make it there, but at least I know why I'm going where I'm going. I see so much in dentistry, especially with younger colleagues, where everyone's just following what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
They did it when I was a young grad as well. Oh, I'm doing MJDF. Why are you doing that? Oh, because everyone else is doing it. Do you want to be a specialist? No. Okay, so why are you doing that? And I actually took great pride, and I think it was very instrumental for me in being just carving my own path and being more unique. And that's something that I try and teach to my kids, that like, don't definitely don't follow what everyone else is doing, but ideally go on your own way, because the individuals that we all see in life as being hugely successful and admirable are those people that have carved their own way and done something truly unique. And so that's always been a big focus of mine. So I don't know if I really answered your question there, but hopefully I did.
Well, I remember I saw you at an exhibition and you were wearing the whoop and you had a gold strap on. I said, Simon, what's that? Because there's no digital display on it. So if you've never seen it before, you're like, what is that? Is that just a fashion statement?
Yeah.
Because actually I was admiring it from a fashion perspective.
I did get the gold one. Yeah.
Yeah. And you explained it to me that, it optimizes my sleep, etc. And I said, look, I'm not an athlete. You said, no, it's for everyone. Then I got it and I've had it for years. So I feel it's great that you put out that kind of content, because it's inspiring some of us that we could be in bed. I mean, I'm not now, but we could be in bed looking at that and like, God, this guy's been up 2 hours before me. He's out there. Tell us about family life. You've got 3 children.
Mhm.
How do you, so I've got the one, and I know we're similar in some ways, that you've got really high standards and you want to be as good as possible in every areas of your life. And I know that from knowing you for so long, that you optimize everything. How do you optimize being a father to 3 kids and having all these ventures on the side? How does that look?
Well, the first thing to say is it doesn't always look perfect, and you're always trying to divert back to the mean of what it should look like. It's very easy. Certainly, at tail end of last year, Megan and I both had loads of work things on, and we weren't at home as much as we wanted to, and so it can. You're always trying to get back to your aims, but one thing I talk about on the retreat is a value-based calendar. And what I mean by that is actually doing an audit of your calendar to see how many hours you spend each week. I think I split it up into 35 blocks over the week, and how many hours allocated to each of the different buckets around health, wealth, family, business, spirituality, creativity. And then getting the delegates to look at that calendar, look at the output in terms of what fraction has been allocated against each bucket, and then asking them, okay, but you said that you were a family man, and yet you've got 1 out of 35 with family and 30 out of 35 at work. So something doesn't line up here in what you're saying and what you're doing. And so that's a practice that I do in my own life. And again, it constantly needs like a well diversified investment portfolio. It needs restacking so that it fits into the optimal pie chart, as it were. So that, I think, is something that I'm constantly doing. And as I always say about working out, like you find the time for the things that you value. I work out every day because I value my health above pretty much everything. And the reason that I value it so highly is that I want to be around for my kids for as long as possible.
I get that.
And for Megs. And so that's why I work out every day, and nothing brings me more joy. My son came in this morning while I was working out. He's only 4. And he comes in and he's there, and he picks up his weight, which is this tiny little like 1 kilogram weight, and he's like, "Look at this, Dad," and he's look at my press ups, and that just brings me so much joy. So, and again, I mean, an interesting point now that I've raised that is I've created a world around me that allows me to be with my kids for as much as possible. So I've built a gym in my house.
Yeah.
I built a sauna in my house. I built an ice bath in my house because I value my health above everything, but not above spending time with my kids where possible. So it's a balance. And obviously Megan and I both like to work out, so we have to share that time, hence why I have to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. I actually really enjoy it, but that's a separate point. And so you have to structure your life and create the life around, again, the goals that you have and the life that you want to lead. And I think Stoic philosophy is really important in this. I think Stoic philosophy forces you to be, or to aspire to be the best individual that you can be. And Marcus Aurelius is obviously probably the most famous Stoic, and he is defined as described as the philosopher king. And so he obviously had one of the hardest jobs in the world, leading the biggest empire in the world in some very difficult times, in some very difficult circumstances, but still found the time to journal and to focus on the important things in life. And so I'm sure he never moaned about being burnt out. And so I try my best to live in those sort of ancestral ways. Now, it's not to say that I'm spinning a lot of plates, and many times in the last 5 years, especially, those plates have all come crashing down simultaneously. But that's an inevitable part of life, I think. I heard a phrase, I think there's a Shaolin monk, I can't remember his name now, but he said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a wicked quote that I think about quite often, actually, that you're going to have difficult times in life, but how you respond to them is within your own control. So, that I think about quite a lot in terms of burnout. The other one, sorry to be a complete quote fest here, but exceptional outcomes come with exceptional problems is one of my probably quote of the year last year.
Yeah.
And that's another one that comes to mind in terms of like the different plates that I'm spinning. Like, I do have exceptional outcomes that I want to achieve in life, and so I'm going to have some fairly significant problems that go alongside that as I go.
Absolutely. I think stress is so high in dentistry and in all professions, the way the climate is in the UK. And even when I've had a few challenges, personal challenges, I've looked at Stoic philosophy myself, and I think there's one analogy where, well, essentially back in those times, there was disease, there was war, there wasn't any safety, and those things were kind of out of your control. So those things are always going to exist, but you can control what's happening in your mind. So I always go back to that example that you're just standing there. Imagine there's waves around you. What you're thinking inside is up to you. So you are responsible for how you feel. Now, I know it might sound ideal, but if you hear it enough and you believe it enough, you can actually live that kind of life. So, I mean, I've got there's friends from the past that, whenever I speak to them, they're always negative. And I kind of have distanced myself from that because I just feel I want to be surrounded by people who have got that positive. And I said to you, I only want to bring people on that inspire me. And even, recently when I went to Dubai, even though I feel Dubai can be a bit soulless and it's all about bling, but what's interesting about Dubai is everyone is looking to be better and more successful. And sometimes it's in the monetary way, but they are having a lot more time with their families in some way and doing a lot more. So I think building your network so that you're around inspiring individuals is so powerful. I guess this is what these podcasts are about as well. We want to get a slice of what Simon is doing that's making him, like, he can do everything he wants and he's still on this journey. So I find it fascinating. Did you do the school run this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that something happened this morning, but you didn't tell me what.
Yeah. So I was just at the school gates, and I mean, this fits in perfectly to the sort of parenting business combo, but the headmistress of the school came over to me as I got the kids out of the car, and she said, I just wanted to interrupt you for a second. I was going to send you an email, but I've not done it yet. I was giving a talk at the assembly last week, talking about how small steps can build up to amazing achievements in life. And a girl in the class in the assembly hall put her hand up, and it was my daughter, and she basically brought my daughter down to the front of the school, and she said, "Yes, what would you like to say?" And my daughter goes, "My daddy is the youngest ever person to do dentistry, and he's also set up a toothpaste brand that's changing the world, and he's done this through lots of small steps."
Oh,
And the headmistress was like, I was taken aback by the fact that not only does she believe that to be true, which is obviously incredibly sweet and made me very, very proud, I don't think I'm the youngest person ever to do dentistry, but she's got something in there about some achievement I've got. But also, and especially for me, like the fact that she's got the confidence to get up and do that in front of the whole school is really quite incredible. So
How old is she?
she's 7.
7, yeah. That's amazing. I love that.
So, but it's really nice. I mean, obviously, as you say, look, at the end of the day, Megan works as well. I work. 2 working parents. We have a very busy work life, multiple businesses, very busy social life, and so it's very easy for you to berate yourself about not being there for your kids enough. But it was lovely for me this morning to hear that actually my daughter genuinely gets like what I'm all about, and I love marginal gains and 1% every day and that whole philosophy. So like the fact that she actually got that's what I did, and that's what had led to the outcomes that I've achieved in my career, or one of the things that has done anyway, was like really lovely. It doesn't get any better than that for me.
Their little ears are always listening, aren't they? And they're watching Daddy. When I started Digimax, I was 18 years old. I'm in my early 40s now. And I never really understood business. I thought if you're issuing invoices, you're a businessman. And it was every year looked the same. And there was a lot of stress, and I was never getting away. And even if I did get away, it wasn't you're switching off. You are in that mode, because I'm talking pre-YouTube and guru era, right? You're learning on your own. There's a few business books, but they're talking about profit and loss, not mindset. So I never really was able to understand the concept of holiday. And I missed it, and I felt so envious of those that would be going away, until I learned a bit more about business and was able to scale Digimax and get to a level where, and then I became a father, and I thought now it's really important for me to exercise rest. So I started this thing where every 3 months, like the whole year's holidays are booked up. And some people looked at it like, oh yeah, it's all right for you. But I consciously did that because it allowed me to come back better for everyone that trusted me and come back better for my family. So I was doing that for years. I mean, it's taken a bit of a change now because I might have overdone it a little bit. But I asked you earlier that, Simon, you're always away. Like, what's that about? And what did you say to me? You go away when?
On the school holidays. But yeah, I go away regularly because it's the moments where I can be most present with my family, really, and they're super young. And I heard this thing, I can't remember who it was from, maybe Sahel Bloom, talking about how the golden years are before your kids turn 12. After that point, they don't want to spend time with you anymore, or very little. And actually, those early years, you're never going to get them back. And it tends to be for parents when they're in grind mode, 30s, 40s, early stage of their career. I'm going to get my head down, I'm going to make loads of money, and then I'm going to retire early, and then I can spend time with my kids. But actually, by the time you get around to spending time with your kids, they don't want to spend time with you anymore. And so for me, I'm, again, very consciously spending as much time as I can with them, not to the detriment of my businesses. And being an entrepreneur, as any entrepreneur knows, you never get a holiday, really. I think this last holiday that I took over the Christmas break was probably the most unplugged I've been in quite a long time, and I did a full social media detox for it as well. But it takes a long time to get to that stage, and I'm always switched on to my businesses. I mean, I'll say I'm unplugged, but I'm constantly thinking about it because I love them. I mean, I love to think about business development, business growth. My whole New Year's break was spent writing out my excessive list of goals for 2026 across the various buckets of life. So I never really turn off, and that's probably to my own detriment because I'm reading business books on holiday and reading business books before I go to bed, and I don't really read fiction or anything like that. I don't know if I'm good in that way.
No, I'm saying, I think, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're probably wrong in that regard. But anyway, so no, going away with my kids is really important. I love being outside in nature. I love the sunshine. I love exercising. I love skiing and all that sort of stuff. So doing that with my family, that's why I work, in essence. I mean, that's the great joy in life, is building those memories together. And I mentioned a few of those to you off camera before we started. And those will be the ones that I go to my grave with. And I think about that quite a lot. What will 100-year-old Simon look back on his life and think I did well and I did badly? And being a good dad, spending time with my kids, having a great relationship with my kids and with my wife, that's the most important thing for me. So
Yeah,
why am I not going to allocate appropriate time to that?
absolutely. I love that, Simon. I've mentioned it on other podcasts as well, but there was a world-leading child psychologist that lived behind the office. She's passed away sadly, and she said all children remember, all they'll remember, is the experiences that they had with you. So if we're going to be stressed, and lots of things are going on in life as they do, and we're going to be sitting with our kids, then we might as well be present in that moment because we've got a choice in that moment. And that's all their little minds can see and remember. So I love that you've consciously planned that, look, we're going to be going away in the half terms and I'm going to spend time with them. And it's one of my buckets. I love that. And if that can be a byproduct of this podcast, that the parents that are there listening are like, yeah, actually, I should be playing more. I should be more present. Because obviously there's so many responsibilities in business, and especially in the climate that we're in.
Well, I mean, one of the things that, I mean, I'm guilty of always saying yes to my kids in terms of, will you play with me? Not in terms of, will you buy me this toy or something?
Yeah.
But I do jujitsu, and I've got my kids doing jujitsu now, which is great. So I've got mats out in my garage, and when I get back from work, if I've been at the practice, which is a few days a week, when I get back from work and I'm obviously knackered, I've done a whole day in the clinic, 6 o'clock, something like that. And the kids will run out and they'll be like, Daddy, can we do jujitsu? What do they call it? Jiu-jitsu fighting. I'm obviously knackered. I'm like, oh God, I really can't bother to do jiu-jitsu fighting right now. But I always say yes, because I'm like, as you say,
Yeah.
that's the thing they're going to remember.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, especially with our devices and our phones. Like I heard something the other day about, like, every time you're on your phone in front of your kid, you are, according to their growing brains, choosing whatever is on that device over them. And that's incredibly damaging for their relationship with you, because they think whatever that is more important than them.
Yeah.
And so I really try my best to stay off my phone as much as possible in front of the kids. It's very, very difficult to do, because obviously these companies have got the best sort of social scientists and computer engineers in the world, and they've hacked our brains, and they know exactly what they're doing. And I'm certainly guilty of being on my phone too much, but whenever I'm around the kids, I really try to be as conscious as possible to not do that, and to say yes to them when they say, Daddy, will you hold my handstand, or Daddy, will you do jiu-jitsu fighting, or Daddy, will you run around in the garden with us, or go on the trampoline, or something like that. So I think it's really important. Easy to say, not always so easy to do, but
absolutely
very important.
But the thing is, we're conscious about it, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
So when we look at you from the outside, if an outsider looks at you, obviously I know you personally, you've got everything together. You've clinically, you worked on yourself, you've got the accolades, you've been on TV, you're building businesses that are all successful. It's for most, it's hard to relate to, because it's, just even dialing your health in. You built a gym at home, as have I. That's why I feel there's so many similarities, because you're just removing the blocks. You really work quite fast towards your goals. So have you ever experienced in dentistry, with dentistry, UK dentistry being a bit of a funny profession, there's a lot of support. I've had immense support, but there's also those that really just for no reason dislike you. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's something that's unique to the dental industry in the UK, or sort of the British mentality maybe around tall poppy syndrome, or sort of crabs in a bucket type thing. But yeah, I've certainly been on the receiving end of a reasonable amount of negative attention over the years. But I think anyone that puts himself out onto the internet is going to receive that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on Facebook. I was on dentaltown.com back in 2011. That's how I met Tiff, who got me involved with BACD. Then I was on Facebook, dental Facebook stuff, when I just qualified 2013, 2012, 2013, 2014. And then I was probably one of the first UK dentists on sort of posting cases of dentistry on Instagram back in 2016, I think it was. And so I've always been on the front line of those exercises. And as a young grad, I always was very aware of my limitations and tried to practice with humility. But I was lecturing from a very young stage in my career on photography or on CEREC, because I had sort of a unique knowledge in that specific area. and that rubbed some older dentists up the wrong way. Yeah, there's been some very disappointing and what I would define as unprofessional actions or words delivered from certain individuals within the profession. Many of which are the sorts of individuals that most people in the profession would know who they would be, because it tends to be the same people all the time. But now that I'm turning 40 this year and becoming one of the older dentists, I guess, I'm certainly going to make sure that I'm not going to pass on that unpleasantness onto my younger colleagues. And look, I get it. I can understand how these older guys saw me coming up as a young upstart, and they obviously thought I was the dog's bees, not wanting to swear on the pod. Obviously they didn't know me, so they didn't know that actually I always approach these things with humility. But I am going to put myself out there. I'm not going to let certain people's opinions of me change me achieving my potential. And I'm really glad that I've pushed through a lot of that. I've had some brilliant people as sounding boards, people like Miguel Stanley and loads of people through the BACD who have been really great mentors for me within the profession, who are 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me. So that's been really great. And as you say, 99.9% of the individuals actually really support you if you're doing things for the right reasons. And I've never sort of done anything other than to try and be the best person I can be and be the best dentist I can be. But you're naturally going to get some people that want to take a pop at you. And I've certainly had to grow a thicker skin over the years, which has been emotionally challenging for me at times. But again, if I'm going to put myself out there, I mean, look, I can disappear if I want to off social media in a flash, but I'm still here and I'm still going and I'm still pushing and creating new content, and because I love it. I love video. I love photography. I love creating things. I love creating brands. And so all these things I take great passion in.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to stop doing them.
There's a real gem in what you've said, Simon, because I've sold tens of thousands of copies of Instagram for Dentists. As you know, you're featured in the book as well, because we ask for your tips. And so sometimes when I go into rooms, they say, hey, who's got my book? Raise your hands. And often most of the room is raising their hands. And then I say, who's practicing what's in the book? Who's actually implementing? And the hands go down. And when I go around the room, it comes down to one thing. Well, two things usually. One is I'm still not sure, how to do it, strategy, which I don't really think is true because everyone knows how to post. And then it comes to the second thing, fear of being judged. And I think if you can get past the fear of being judged, something I'm actually doing as well right now, I'm creating more content, because even though I wrote the book, I was like, is it going to be perfect? Is it going to look great? I've got past that. And the door of opportunities just flood open the minute you get past that, which I feel, obviously you're very good at what you do, but you've not shied away from that promotion.
I mean, I've still not got past it, Shaz, and I think the truth is you never get past it. I've got a bank of, I think, 40 to 50 videos that I've recorded with my videographer that I'm yet to post. Around like business and personal development, that sort of stuff. Fear of judgment. I think it's just and I am going to post them. I've also just been really busy. And I won't let anything go out without me like properly watching it. And so, as I say, it was a very busy tail end to the year last year. But part of it is fear of judgment, and I'm never one to do what everyone else is doing, because I find zero enjoyment in that. And so I have to do something different. The moment you do something different, you're more likely to be putting yourself in the line of judgment, because it's different for a reason, because it's very authentic and unique to you, but also it's unique, and unique things tend to be targeted. And so I don't think you ever get over that. But I speak to my associates, I speak to young dentists about this all the time, that they do just need to do it. Like at the end of the day, I was like a young grad. I had no special skills in terms of clinical dentistry, but I just had a real, I was very fortunate to have some great people around me in my early days of qualifying. And I just took a lot of photos and documented a lot of cases, which meant that the ones that were good enough, I would then post. But everyone struggles with that, whether you're me, you, a brand new grad, or Alex Hormozy. I'm sure
Crazy,
they
isn't it?
all feel exactly the same way
Yeah.
at different levels.
The coach said to me that, Shaz, why aren't you creating content? You've got so much knowledge over 20 years. So, look, I'm concerned about how I'll look. Will I come across right? And it'll be there and it won't be perfect. And I've got other things to do. And he said, all right, Shaz, tell me about some content that you've consumed that you really liked. And I said, oh yeah, look, I learned this, I learned that. And he said, what did that person look like? What were they wearing? What was the background? I said, I can't remember. And he says, no one cares. No one actually cares about the details that you're worried about. They just want something from that
They want
video.
the value.
What's in it for me?
Yeah,
Educate me.
Exactly.
And that stuck by me. And I think that's what's helped me to just get out there. And having someone that will turn up, film, make it easy for you as well.
Well, and if you pay for someone to turn up and film, then you're going to have to do it.
Then there's a appointment. Yeah.
You have then got to post it, which I'm failing on that bit. But
yeah, I'm failing on that as well. So now I'm trying to get past that. So I've said to him, look, can you just post it? If I just approve it, you post it regularly.
That's it. We're the same.
So Simon, I feel like we could talk for hours because there's so much to share. But there's two questions. I normally ask the one question. I'm going to ask you two questions. One is, there's so many areas of your life that you've optimized. What 3 tips would you give us? Business, life, family, health, that you really feel like, yeah, these have been game changers for me. This is something that I do. And I think others could repeat this.
Well, the first one's obviously going to be exercise every day. Like wake up early, have a really strong morning routine. I know morning routines are a bit trite now and a bit overdone, but nothing has been more instrumental for me, I don't think, than waking up early every day. And I used to actually do a bit of work before I worked out. Now I just go straight into my workout. But waking up early, having a workout is just so vital to win the day. Like you've won the day before anyone else is up, before anything else happens. So that has just been so instrumental. And I think I talk a lot on the retreat about about identity-based habits. And I think that's one of the strongest identity-based habits. So you say, I'm the sort of person that wakes up and works out every day.
Fantastic.
Not just like, oh, I'm going to try this out for a few weeks. Oh, I've fallen off the wagon. Oh, I've got kids. Oh, I've got a job. So what? So does everyone.
Yeah.
Like just get in the gym.
Yes.
And so that's the first one. The second one, I think, is just doing the work to actually know why you're doing what you're doing. I see so many people living their lives on autopilot, like they're going to get another go at this, without consciousness and without like real deep thought. And that does take some time. And I've spent a lot of time, and I spend a lot of time every year revisiting what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I think actually, from a practical point of view, sitting down for a day or a weekend or however long it takes to actually give your mind the space to think about what you're doing, think about what good looks like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, even looking at your 100-year-old self and saying, wow, I had an amazing life because of that, that, and that. So I think doing that work is really, really important. So I guess that's more of a macro, like life mission and purpose type exercise. Ikigai is a wonderful Venn diagram to use. You can download an Ikigai Venn diagram to do that. Something that we do on the retreat as well. And then the final thing I guess is the value-based calendar that we spoke about earlier on. I think doing that regular audit of your life to make sure that your time, which is your most valuable asset, and your values are aligned, and the time that you're spending in each of those value sets is appropriate for what you want to achieve in life.
Yeah.
And that will obviously vary throughout your life. If you're a 23-year-old new grad, get to work, make some money, and like work on your craft. If you're in the stage of life that we're in sort of early 40s, make sure you're spending enough time with your loved ones. And I've seen far too many people die age 40 to not be acutely aware of how grateful I am for everything that I have and for every moment I get to spend with the people that I love. And actually, that's one thing I haven't mentioned, is how important the people that you work with are in terms of your enjoyment and fulfillment in your career. When I do the retreat, I have these 2 frameworks. One, I'm talking about the retreat a lot, but one is called Great Smile. And so GREAT is a framework for fulfilling life, and SMILE is a framework for health and longevity. The only thing that is in both of those two frameworks is relationships. And that's because we're a tribal species, and we've been for as long as we've existed as our species, we've been in tribes. But the relationships you have with other people are integral both to your longevity and how long you live, alongside how much you enjoy your career and what you do for a job. And I can say with absolute honesty and transparency that the people I work with at Rothy Lodge, many of whom have been there since before I was born, alongside the people that I work with at PÄRLA, who are absolute killers, and I love them deeply as my closest friends. I love spending time with them, and I'll do it on a Saturday night. I'll do it on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And that I'm so grateful for. And that is the secret sauce to having an amazing career. If you're working with people that you don't like, leave that job immediately, because that's what's making you unhappy. And so, or it may well be one of the things that is. So, yeah, that's probably the best advice I can give.
What I love about everything you've said is you don't have to be extraordinary to implement anything that you've said here, but implementing those things may make you extraordinary. So I love that. And lastly, you're entering chapter 40 now. What does success mean for you now?
So, as I say, I did a lot of work, as I always do over the Christmas break, on what my goals are for the year. And I think for me, I've obviously got loads of monetary goals and business goals and personal goals, health goals. But to crystallize it into one phrase, it's to actually craft the ability to be completely present and in the moment with my loved ones and my family, whilst at the same time continue to harbor extreme ambition for exceptional goals in my life. And that's not easy to do, because you're flicking between very different sides of the brain and very different personality types, but that's the port that I'm sailing towards. And that's what I'm working hard on. And that's going to require some fairly significant spiritual work. It's going to require a lot of hard work in terms of business aspirations. But I'm loving the journey, and that's the most important thing, I think. Not actually, I shouldn't say it like that, because it sounds like I'm always loving the journey. I'm not. There's a lot of times that I have to do really annoying stuff I really would rather not do at really annoying times. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, something will go wrong while you're away or something like that. And so I want to be very transparent with the realities of running a business. You're basically fighting fires 24/7.
Yeah.
But I do genuinely really love it, and it's something I'm going to continue to do for many years to come. And I'm really looking forward to the next 15, 20 years of my career.
Brilliant. Simon, I want to say also thank you. On more than one occasion, you've supported my charity, Wells on Wheels. You've showed up for events. You've promoted it. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm so grateful that you carved out time for today. Hopefully through this conversation, we'll inspire many more. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much, Simon.
No worries. Love to be able to.
Thanks for listening to Successful, Depth, Not Display. If today's conversation inspired you, please do subscribe and share with like-minded people. You can discover more about our guests on successful.dental. I'm Shaz Memon, and I'm passionate about helping practices rank organically on Google to attract high-intent patients. At Digimax, we use 20 years of proven SEO strategy rooted in patient psychology to make that happen. We're also known for our patient conversion machine websites, not just beautiful, but engineered to turn more visitors into patients, using everything we've learned over 2 decades. I'd also love to introduce you to Dental Bio. With Dental Bio, you can build your personal brand by sharing where you work, write blogs and articles, showcase your reviews, add links, your transformations, and more. Everything you need to build your personal LinkedIn Bio website all in one place. Get started for free. Just visit dental.bio. And if you'd like to support my charity powered by the incredible UK dental community, visit wellsonwheels.co.uk or search No Water Land on Prime Video or Apple TV to watch the documentary. I'm Shaz Memon. Until next time, remember, success isn't just a result, it's a feeling. It's fulfillment, contribution, growth, connection, and being true to yourself. Real success is lived from the inside out. For me, it's about depth, not display. Thank you.